Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Grandma's Wealth Wisdom, where we help you break through to a smart, stable financial future. I know you can read it at the bottom, but I'm Amanda Neely, and this is Brandon Neely, the host of this YouTube channel. And if you're catching the replay, welcome. So glad that you're here. We've got some really awesome things to talk about today in terms of growing a business that could last for generations and impact generations. We published a podcast episode today, which you can check out on all the podcast platforms or find it here on YouTube, about how to create a business that lasts and impacts generations. And in that episode, we cover 3 essential ingredients, in our opinion, that we believe makes a company that's going to last for generations. And we developed those 3 essential ingredients from real businesses that we know and have studied and have intimate interactions with regarding how they've stood the test of time. And so be sure you check out that episode. In today's live that we're doing, which you're catching the replay of, we wanted to talk about a part of the 3rd ingredient that we mentioned and dig into it a little more deeply. So it's kind of like a bonus, something we couldn't really, within the time allotted in the podcast, dig into. And that's how to make and keep money, which the 2 words that are part of that is keep money. And I'm just going to let the cat out of the bag here real quick. To grow a business and to have it grow, scale, become everything you want it to be, we think a lot of people are talking about how to make money, right? How to get your next customer, how to grow your customer base, how to get your next 100 customers, how to get more money from those customers, all those kind of things. But no one talks about keeping money. Yet we think keeping money is almost as important as making money in order to grow your business.
Yeah, I think what you said there is so powerful. And again, going back to our previous podcast episode that we shared, I just shared it with the guy who's the, I don't know, runner of it, I guess. I mean, it's a 4th-generation company, so he's the owner. But really, we learned a lot of this from a 4th-generation company, right? That helped us be able to keep more money, helped us do a lot of things. And they started a long time ago, right? So anyway, if you want to learn more about their story, it's a concrete company too, of all things, that helped us grow our business. So check it out.
Yeah, but before people can get to that, a lot of those watching are probably like confused a little bit for a second. I just said that the business not only needs to make money, but keep money in order to grow. And a lot of people might be saying, wait, no, that can't be true. As long as the business is making money, why does it need to keep any? As long as the business is making money, why does it need to keep any money? Let's sit with that for a second. Lots of people believe that. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt for a second. Let's say.
Can you do a whiteboard for this? That would be awesome.
I don't have one planned. Yeah. But as long as your business is making money, it should be able to grow, right?
Yeah.
No. There's plenty of businesses that are stuck in making money and they just keep making money and yet they're not growing. There's a big difference between making money and growth. Yeah, sure. Maybe even they're making a little bit more than they made the last year. But if they really want to grow, we believe that part of what they need to make sure they do is keep money as well.
Yeah.
And some people might be like, yeah, but don't you just keep money for an emergency fund? Isn't that the only reason to keep money? Right. And I think, yeah, part of the reason to keep money is for an emergency fund. You don't know that your business is going to continue to make money as it's making money today, or even be able to make a little bit more next year, right? It could make a lot less, and you need to have that emergency fund just in case, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that also, those funds could be used as growth funds. They're not just emergency funds, they're also growth funds. Now, I could talk about how this could work a little bit, and we can tell some stories about how keeping money is essential to growing a business. If you're just joining us, make sure that this is the whole thing we're talking about today. In order to grow a business, you need to make and keep money. And keeping money is not just for emergency purposes, but also so that you have a growth fund. Picture this. You might know this for a friend of yours or for yourself. You keep getting offered a really big contract, whatever that looks like, a really big contract for, a really big order or a really big opportunity for your business. And yet you have to keep turning it down because you don't have the capital that it'll take to start the work before you get paid, right? Often to take on that next big deal or that contract, that order, you might have to have your attorney draw up new contracts because this is so much bigger than the contracts you've used before. You might need to do some product development or order extra products or materials. You might need to hire and train staff before you actually take the money from the customer that you want to serve, whatever it is. So you end up having to turn down that big contract because you don't have the personnel, the products, the process in place in order to take on bigger work. And you keep doing that over and over again. So then those big contracts, those big opportunities stop coming, and you're stuck in doing the little things, the little work. And then the little contracts, the little work stop coming too. They start moving to other companies who can grow along with them, right? Yep. And before you know it, you're out of business. And it might look like you lost sales. You weren't able to keep making money, right? And so therefore you closed. But really the root cause of not making money was that you didn't keep money a little bit along the way from those smaller contracts, right? So that when the big contract, the big opportunity came along, you had the growth funds there to help you make it happen, right? Yeah. Now, I know, well, actually, Brandon, before you say that, I'm already hearing an objection people have, and I'll get to it, and that's, well, couldn't I just go borrow money or take on an investor in order to do that big contract? And I want to come back to that. But Brandon, I want to give you a chance to jump in here. I've been talking a lot.
Yeah, well, I'd love to hear from our audience as you're jumping in. We want to create these interactive times, not just create a Brandon and Amanda show, but, how do we, as you have questions about this, share it. So I always hear people again talk about, hey, make more money. And that's great. I want to make more, but then we're still on the hamster wheel, right? And keeping money is another piece. And so I kind of think about it with and in business and in personal, if you have your hands open like this, right, or right here, people are going to grab the money from us, from our hands. But if we learn how to close our fingers, we're going to be able to keep more in our own pocket or in our own hands. But oftentimes there's so much leakage there that we are not in a good place. And also say paying yourself is a good thing. So just reinvesting in your business over and over and hoping that it's going to happen isn't necessarily the best plan. Mm-hmm. So, and I've said this before, hope is not a strategy. It's that's very different. So don't have just hope as your strategy to grow your business.
Yeah. I love those things, Brandon. Thanks for jumping in there. So I'm going to go back to this big objection that I hear people asking right now. Well, when I need the money, can I go get a loan from a bank or take on an investor or charge it to my credit card or whatever it is? Yeah, maybe, possibly you could do that, but do you want to pay interest? Do you want to give up equity in your firm whenever there's a growth opportunity that comes? Or if you've ever watched Shark Tank, you know this to be true. If you're not taking anything out of the company right now and you go seeking an investor, they're going to be highly doubtful that they're going to be able to take anything out of the company. They want their money to grow into more money. They want to start getting profit distributions. And if you're not taking those already, they're going to think
be less likely to do anything.
that they're going to get them. And Mark Cuban, I think, is like the shark that asks these questions the most often. Well, how much are you paying yourselves? What kind of, how much have you been, like, what's your bottom line profit? Like, are you actually making any money? Or are you going further into debt? Those kind of things. So if you are thinking about taking on an investor, or let's imagine the same situation, you go to a bank, they're going to want to make sure that you can pay back that loan plus interest, right? The money that they give you. And so they're going to be more likely to give you a loan or access to a line of credit if you're showing healthy financials. And some of those healthy financials are going to include, guess what? Keeping money, right? And so if you are going to pursue one of those options, it actually increases the chances that you're going to be able to take advantage of a financing or invest and get taken on an investor if you're keeping money. And that actually leads into a third advantage of keeping money is if you ever are going to sell your business, the fact that you've kept money, paid yourself, have some money in a bank account, or I don't know, a whole life insurance policy, or whatever, that's going to make the business a lot more attractive to a potential buyer, right? We know this to be true ourselves.
Well, and I think it really came in our own story where we thought we were being successful. We were paying off our debt. And one of our mentors said, "How much are you paying yourself?" And that felt really hard to hear because I'm like, I'm not doing this to make money. But the reality is, if you're a business owner, you should be making money. And I just felt like, failure. We're not paying ourselves. And I think this is one piece of keeping money, is making sure you're paying yourselves, and making sure you're paying yourself a wage that is comparable, right? Yeah. So for us as coffee shop owners, we need to be paying ourselves at least what a manager at a coffee shop would be making.
Right, because then the person who buys the business is probably not going to want to jump into the day-to-day management of the business, or if they are, they're going to want to get compensated for it. And so to show that you're compensating yourself for it, so they could, if they're going to take on that same role, or that you're paying yourself enough that they could pay someone else to run it and still maybe even have some profit, that's when you can sell a business, and not before, right? If you don't have that in place, it's going to be really, really hard to sell a business. So that's, yeah.
I do think that a lot of people, budding entrepreneurs, think that it's going to be easy, that they can just get a loan, they can just do this. They'll get a shark or somebody to help them do this. And it's a lot harder than people think. They'll get investment capital, and maybe they will if they have a good business model. Maybe it's not the best decision for them either. Think about Whole Foods and how that played out, right? So
it's a little different, but
different,
but I see what you're saying, Brandon. When you're an early stage entrepreneur, it does make a lot of sense to be focused on making money and making more money and making sure you've proven your business model and that you're generating the sales and the revenue that you should be, and that those numbers are going up and up. We're just saying, don't forget to keep some. And even if all you do is you've got the business, right? You just generated some revenue. Even if you pay it to yourself, and then the next time you get that big opportunity or that big order that comes in, or you need to purchase new inventory, even if you turn right around and re-loan it to the business, right? Reinvest it in the business to go do those things. We think that's okay. We actually think that is a positive. And that's actually something that Mike Michalowicz talks about in Profit First, is this idea of getting in the habit of taking a profit, taking owner's compensation, setting money aside for taxes, keeping money for what's important, right? Putting food on the table, paying your bills, taking a profit from the business, all the things we've been, talking about with keeping money. You get in the habit of that. And then even if you're turning around and reinvesting into the business every single time, there'll be a time when you won't need to. And you'll then be in the habit of continuing to give that money to yourself and to keep it, right? Whereas if you just leave it in the business, you keep reinvesting into inventory, or, using it to scale up for whatever that means for you. Then when you actually have a sustainable business, theoretically, right? It seems like it's sustainable. It seems like you could start paying yourself a profit. It's going to be really hard to change that habit. That's exactly, in the definition of habits, is that they're ingrained into us. They're second nature. To change a habit takes it's hard. And we don't want that for you. We want it to be easy. So why not get in the habit of doing what you plan to do eventually now, even if that means you have to reinvest what you're keeping aside temporarily. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I think about that from the fitness side now. So I got out of a habit because of COVID and all kinds of things.
Excuses.
Of going to the gym. That was probably,
I'm just kidding.
Still done exercise here, right? I could have, and I've learned, take responsibility for everything. But I wasn't going to the gym, and I got out of the habit. And because of that, I, of course, gained weight, right? And the same thing applies with business, right? If we're not in a healthy habits, either business, like sometimes we can have unhealthy habits with working too much or working not enough or things like that. So because of that, I realized, hey, I need to do something, get back in the habit, and make it there, make it a daily thing. I think that is the same thing with our money, right? And so what are the healthy habits that we need to create?
Yep. Okay. So to recap, make money. Sure. Focus on that. Make sure you've got a sustainable business model that's actually like generating things that people want and will pay good money for.
You're not making, you need to make money. That's kind of why you would have a business. If you're not making money.
Right. But then as you're making money, don't forget to keep it, at least some of it, even if it's just 1%. The next time you get paid, move 1% to somewhere where you can keep it, and you won't miss it, most likely. Let us know if you do miss it, but most likely you won't. And then in 3 months from now, increase it to 2%. 3 months after that, increase it to 3%. And keep going until you actually miss it. And the next time a big opportunity comes your way, something that can really help you grow and see, like you vetted it, you've done your due diligence, you have a high degree of confidence that it will help you make more money, then celebrate that you've got that money that you've kept aside in case that happens. Or In the worst case scenario, something bad happens, you've got to tap into it as an emergency fund. Be thankful that you have it there too. And if you do need to use it in the meantime, use it, but try not to, and see what happens. Make it an experiment. Have some fun with it. You don't have to make it overly complicated. The whole point of this call or this live show today is to put that out there, that creating a business that lasts, a business that grows, that becomes everything you want it to be. You can't just focus on making money. You've also got to keep some of that money for yourself.
Well, and I like what you said is that growth fund too. Instead of calling it an emergency fund, that's already saying we're going to have an emergency or something. And maybe that does happen, right? But having it as a growth fund is very different, right?
Yep.
And then you're ready for when you're ready to grow.
100%. Okay, that's it for today. Keep going on your financial journey, and we hope that you break through to a smart, stable financial future where you have taken control of your cash flow, you begin to leverage your assets, and your profits are always increasing.
Awesome. We'll see you next time.
See ya.